Welcome to the Idaho Explorer channel. In today's episode, we will drive northeast from Idaho Falls on US-26 to the Kelly Mountain area, then continue southeast to Swan Valley. From there, we will drive southeast along the east side of the Palisades Reservoir to reach Alpine, Wyoming, and the end of our journey. This highway drive covers 72 miles. We will make a 30-mile side trip to Victor and Driggs via highways 31 and 33 on the return trip to Idaho Falls. Unless otherwise indicated, all of the photos in this video are my personal photos. Please consult the Idaho A Climbing Guide website for more details on the driving, hiking, and property issues for the hills and peaks discussed in this video. It's a great free resource for hikers and climbers alike. We begin our journey in downtown Idaho Falls. Drive northeast up the Yellowstone Highway, i.e. US-26, until the highway bends right or east. Leave the highway at a sign for Ririe and drive north for about a mile to reach the small town of 739 residents at an elevation of 4,964 feet. Ririe is home of the Bulldogs. Here's a look down Main Street. Return south to Highway 26. Drive about a mile and a half east to reach a sign for Ririe Dam and a paved road heading south. Leave the highway here. You'll reach the dam in about 2 miles. Continue about another half mile to reach a turnoff for the Juniper Campground. Turn right onto a frontage road that heads north to the campground entrance. Drive past the entrance to reach a parking area where you have a great view of the Ririe Dam and the Ririe Reservoir. This photo shows the dam. Here is Ririe Reservoir, very popular with boaters. You can see a boat dock down below. Let's return to the Juniper Campground. Here is the campground entrance signboard. And here is the grassy park-like entrance to the campground. There are plenty of juniper trees for shade here. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing to the channel and smashing the like button. That way the YouTube algorithm will show it to more Idaho lovers out there. Thanks very much for your support. Now back to the video. Return to US-26 and drive about a mile and a half east to reach a sign turnoff for the Kelly Canyon ski area. Please note that my photo shows the sign on the westbound side of the highway. The turnoff is on the north side of the highway. Here's a photo of Kelly Mountain as viewed from the southeast, from farther east on US-26. The Leaning Fir Trail leads to the top from Table Rock Canyon Road on the east side of the mountain. There are quite a few hiking trails in the Kelly Mountain area, especially along Forest Service Road 218, a well-maintained dirt road. Many peaks in this area can be hiked, climbed, or bushwhacked. Here is Table Rock, elevation 5,500, which you can scramble from the Heisey Road along the Snake River and have a splendid view of the Snake from the top. This photo shows its sheer east face. Or you can climb Blanche Rock, elevation 5,650, and raise your level of excitement. This exposed protrusion sits above Kelly Canyon Road. Here are a few more of my favorite peaks in this area. This is magnificent Red Butte, elevation 8,108. Prospect Peak, elevation 8,020, sits just south of Red Butte in the Big Hole Mountains. A high pass separates these two peaks. The pass can be reached on a hiking trail. Temple Peak, elevation 8,219, sits just east of Prospect Peak and Red Butte. Temple Peak and its neighbor, Peak 8313, can be approached via a trail to the saddle between the two peaks. This is a view of Peak 8313 from the summit of Temple Peak. Now let's return to Highway 26 and continue east, then southeast towards Swan Valley. After several miles of easy driving, you reach the only rest stop between Idaho Falls and Alpine, Wyoming. This rest stop has some magnificent views of the Snake River, so let's explore it and take some photos. This signboard has some nice stonework. So does the bathroom, shown here. Walk down a paved pathway to the north end of the Snake River overlook at the rest stop, and you get this magnificent view of the Snake River. Drive down a spur road at the rest stop to reach the south end. Walk to the overlook and enjoy this breathtaking view of the Snake River with Pine Creek Bench, elevation 5,853 at its highest point, in the distance. There's a memoriam here dedicated to Ernie Stites, an Idaho writer, outdoorsman, conservation advocate, and humanitarian. If you love Idaho's outdoors, you would have really appreciated Ernie Stites. Let's return to Highway 26. A few miles farther southeast on the highway, we see a signed turnoff for the Conant Valley boat ramp. Let's check it out. Drive down to a parking area with a bathroom and park here. Walk down a path to the Snake River. This photo looks upstream at the mighty Snake River from this vantage point. Continuing southeast on US-26, we soon encounter a bridge across the Snake River and this road sign just before it. The well-maintained Snake River Road, a wide dirt road, heads right or south from here and follows the Snake River all the way down to the Palisades Dam. Several peaks can be climbed from side roads off Snake River Road. For example, Fall Creek Road gives good access to peaks 6958, 7100, 7034, and 6778. I climbed all four of those peaks in a single hike. They're all located in the Caribou Mountains. This photo is of peak 6958. Here is peak 7100. Next up is peak 7034, shown here. And finally, we have peak 6778. Let's continue southeast on Highway 26 and cross the beautiful bridge over the Snake River, pictured here. We're getting close to Swan Valley now. Swan Valley, viewed here from the northeast, is a village of about 335 people and sits at an elevation of 5,315 feet. The Swan Valley General Store is located along Highway 26 near its junction with Idaho 31. Continuing southeast on Highway 26, we reach Rainy Creek Road, heading left or east at a Mormon church. Let's investigate the Rainy Creek Road and trailhead. Drive east on a good paved road for about 2 miles to a T-junction. Go left or north here onto a well-maintained county road, which soon turns right, east, and then left north again. The road then bends rightish northeast and enters the Caribou-Targhee National Forest. The road is narrower here, but is still well maintained. You reach the trailhead at about 5.6 miles from Highway 26. There's also an information plaque at the trailhead. This is Ross Peak, elevation 7,929. You can climb it from the Rainy Creek Trailhead or from the Rainy Creek Trail. You can also climb Rocky Peak, elevation 7,525, to the south. Let's return to Highway 26. Continuing southeast, we soon reach the hamlet of Irwin, population 295. It sits at an elevation of 5,330 feet. Irwin is home of the Panthers. Irwin has a nice city park and baseball field, and a BLM recreation site west of town. Looking east from Irwin, you can see magnificent Baldy Mountain, elevation 9,837. In Irwin, there's a signed turnoff along the highway for the Palisades Creek campground. It's about a 2-mile drive up a nice paved road. Here's the sign for the Palisades Creek campground. I stayed here. It's a nice, shaded, quiet campground, and I recommend it. About 2/10 of a mile past the campground is the Palisades Creek trailhead, a very popular place. Overflow parking for the trailhead is across from the campground. This is the footbridge at the start of the Palisades Creek Trail. In this photo, we're looking up Palisades Creek from atop the footbridge. This is how the initial section of the well-beaten Palisades Creek Trail looks. Very nicely shaded. I climbed Baldy Mountain, which we saw from Irwin, via its south ridge from the overflow parking lot across from the campground. This photo of Baldy was taken from Peak 9702. Here is Peak 9702. I climbed it from the Palisades Creek Trail via its south ridge. It's best to climb Baldy Mountain and Peak 9702 together to avoid replication of thousands of feet of uphill. Let's return to Highway 26. Several miles farther southeast on the highway, we reach the Palisades Dam Recreation Area and the turnoff for the Riverside Park Campground. This is the beautiful bridge over the Snake River at the campground. And here's an aerial view of the bridge and the campground from the top of nearby Calamity Point, elevation 6,502. From a nice pullout next to the Snake River Bridge at the campground, you have a beautiful view of the impressive Palisades Dam from below, shown here, with the hydroelectric falls to the right. Poorly signed Sheep Creek Road heads north from US-26 near the Riverside Park Campground turnoff. You can climb Sheep Mountain, elevation 9,700 feet, shown here in 2 separate photos, in a lengthy hike from the Sheep Creek Trail. It's mostly a trail hike. You can also climb Sheep Creek Peak, elevation 9,952, on the same hike. There's a ridge trail between the 2 peaks. Sheep Creek Peak is the pyramidal hump in the distance in the center of this photo. Continuing a short distance farther southeast on Highway 26, the road rises up to the top of the Palisades Dam, and there's a large pullout there with this sign and a magnificent view of the Palisades Reservoir. The aforementioned pullout and sign sit at the east end of the Palisades Dam. This photo shows Calamity Point, elevation 6,502, a steep rock and forest hump that sits on the far side of the Palisades Dam. Here's a photo of the north half of the Palisades Reservoir, as viewed from the dam looking south. This is a zoomed shot of the reservoir with Peak 6460, the hump left of center, and Peak 7940 in the distance. Here is a closer photo of Peak 7940 from when I climbed it. Driving farther southeast along Highway 26, we get this shot of the south half of the Palisades Reservoir looking south. Now let's get some aerial photos of the Palisades Reservoir from nearby mountain peaks. This view is looking southeast from the summit of Congress Knob, elevation 7,492, at the north end of the reservoir. This photo looks at the entire reservoir from the summit of Sheep Creek Peak, elevation 9,952, looking south. This shot looks west from high on the west ridge of Needle Peak, elevation 9,449. Big Elk Creek is in the foreground. This view looks south from the summit of Peak 6962 at the main body of the reservoir. Now let's continue our journey southeast on Highway 26. About 3 miles southeast of the Palisades Dam is poorly signed Little Elk Creek Road. This narrow road leads to the Little Elk Creek Trailhead. The Little Elk Creek Trail is the launch point for a climb of Mount Baird, elevation 10,029, Elkhorn Peak, elevation 9,953, which is shown in this photo, and Little Elk Peak, elevation 9,722. About 3/4 of a mile farther south on Highway 26 is the signed turnoff for the Big Elk Creek Campground and the Big Elk Creek Trailhead. The campground is a group campground only. The trailhead is about 2 miles from the highway. The road to the trailhead is narrow, but is well maintained. This is the signboard at the Big Elk Creek Trailhead. You can hike Peak 7997, shown here, via Big Elk Creek Trail, then up a weaker side trail to the top. You must ford Big Elk Creek, however, to reach this peak. Two peaks can be climbed from a 2-track road that goes past the YMCA camp at the Big Elk Creek Trailhead. This photo shows Peak 6962. Follow the Quaker Flat Trail, Forest Service Trail 110, up to its crossing of the East Ridge. Bushwhack through mercilessly thick brush to reach the summit. This trail is not shown on the USGS topo map. Needle Peak can also be climbed from the YMCA Camp Road, but the bushwhack up the West Ridge is absolutely punishing. Here's a photo of the summit hump of Needle Peak High Point, elevation 9,449. And this is a shot of its named but lower neighbor, Needle Peak, elevation 9,220. Let's return to the highway. A few miles farther southeast on US 26 is the Blowout Campground and Boat Ramp. This is the final campground in the state of Idaho on Highway 26. About 3 miles farther south on Highway 26 is poorly signed Indian Creek Road. It provides access to Peak 7780. However, this is a brushy, wicked bushwhack. Continue southeast on US 26 to cross into Wyoming and past the Alpine Campground. Shortly thereafter, we enter Alpine, Wyoming, and reach Alpine Junction. Here is a view of Alpine, Wyoming, with the Snake River in the foreground. This is the end of our 72-mile journey. Let's now return to Idaho Falls and do a side trip on Idaho 31 to Victor and Driggs. From Swan Valley, drive northeast on Idaho 31. This highway crosses the ridge crest at Pine Creek Pass, elevation 6,764, in 14.2 miles, then drops down into the Teton Basin and bends east then northeast to reach the town of Victor in another 7 miles. Victor has a population of 2,578 and sits at an elevation of 6,214. From downtown Victor, drive north on Idaho 33 for 8 miles to reach Driggs. Driggs has a population of 2,481 and sits at an elevation of 6,109. Here's a photo of the Teton Basin with Driggs to the left and Victor to the right, as seen from Red Mountain on the Big Hole Mountains ridgecrest to the west. This is a photo of Victor from atop Peak 7834 to its west on the Big Hole Mountains ridgecrest. Idaho 31 separates the Big Hole Mountains on the north side of the highway from the Snake River Mountains on the south side of the highway. There are several trails along or near Idaho 31 leading from Swan Valley up to Pine Creek Pass. They provide access to several peaks. This photo is of Stouts Mountain, a magnificent peak in the Big Hole Mountains on the north side of Idaho 31. Stouts Mountain stands at 8,623 feet. You can hike it via an unmapped foot trail that begins at a green road closure gate at about 7 miles northeast of Swan Valley on Idaho 31. It's mostly a trail hike up the south/southeast ridge to the summit. At virtual mile marker 8.2 on Idaho 31, you reach an unsigned two-track on the north side of the highway. This is Fleming Canyon Road, Forest Service Road 229. It's a rough road. Drive as far as you are able, then park. I made it 1.5 miles up this awful Jeep track. Hike up the road to its end at a signed trailhead for the Fleming Canyon Trail, Forest Service Trail 079. This trail is a narrow, steep motorcycle trail. Forest Service Trail 079 gets you very close to the summit of Peak 7978, shown in this photo. You can continue along a ridge trail to climb Black Mountain, elevation 8,796, with some off-trail scrambling required. Black Mountain is shown in this photo. The ridge trail continues up over Chicken Peak, elevation 8,419, shown here. Liar's Peak, elevation 8,689, is next and is shown in this photo. The ridge trail gets you pretty close to the summit. The final peak on this high ridge is Piney Peak, elevation 9,037. It is the hump farthest away in the center of the photo. Chicken Peak and Liar's Peak lie in front of it. The ridge trail crosses the south ridge of Piney Peak high up. On the south side of Idaho 31, in the Snake River Mountains, there are 3 peaks that are worthy objectives. Peak 8440, shown in this photo, Peak 8116, and Spencer Benchmark. Mike Spencer Canyon Road is about a 1/4 mile east of the Fleming Canyon Road, or at about virtual mile marker 8.5. Drive about 2 miles up this decent road to its end at a trailhead. Peak 8116 is shown in this photo. Finally, this is Spencer Benchmark, elevation 8,142. Now let's drive up to Pine Creek Pass and see what we can explore from there. From the pass, you can drive 5 miles south on signed Forest Service Road 253 to reach the Fog Hill Trail, Forest Service Trail 051. It gets you close to Fog Hill, elevation 8,933, but still requires a bushwhack to reach the top. Forest Service Trail 051 skirts the north side of 4th of July Peak, elevation 7,496, shown here, on the way to Fog Hill. It's a short scramble to the top. Back at Pine Creek Pass, you can see there's an unofficial ridge trail heading north from the pass, and it's clear in this photo. It leads to an official trail that skirts past Rocky Peak, elevation 7,320. Rocky Peak is shown here, and yes, it is rocky. Continuing north up the ridge trail, you reach Peak 7,800, shown in this photo. A short distance farther north puts you atop Peak 7834, shown here. A bit farther north up the ridge crest leads you to the summit of Squirrel Mountain, elevation 7,806. The summit high point is located a short distance northeast of the ridge crest. Let's get back to Pine Creek Pass and continue our drive on Idaho 31 into Victor. This is a view of the crest of the Big Hole Mountains as viewed from just off Idaho 31 before reaching Victor. Here is the entrance sign for the town of Victor as seen along Highway 31. And this is a photo of downtown Victor. Here is a view of the Big Hole Mountains crest from Victor. You can climb up to the crest via the Drake Creek Trail, Forest Service Trail 238 west of Victor, and reach Squirrel Mountain, Peak 7906, Peak 7834, and Peak 7800 without much difficulty. Red Mountain, elevation 8,697, shown in this photo, can be reached from the Patterson Creek trailhead west of Victor. You can also climb Squirrel Mountain from there. From downtown Victor, head north on Idaho 33 toward Driggs. You can climb Henderson Peak and Patterson Ridge from the Patterson Creek trailhead. This photo shows Henderson Peak, elevation 8,312. Patterson Ridge stands at 7,621. Now let's visit Driggs. Here is the town entrance sign along the highway. And this is a photo of downtown Driggs. Here is a view of the Big Hole Mountains crest from just south of Driggs. West of Driggs, you can access the Caribou-Targhee National Forest and climb peaks like Garnes Mountain, elevation 9,021, shown here. You can also climb beautiful Ryan Peak, elevation 8,860, or Mount Manning, elevation 7,705, shown here, or Idaho Ridge, elevation 7,380, or Campbell's Hump, elevation 7,562. Well, this wraps up our side trip to Victor and Driggs. If you enjoy this type of content, please smash the like and subscribe buttons. Feel free to drop a comment if you've done some interesting driving or hiking in the state of Idaho. Stay tuned for more videos on the Idaho Explorer channel. Thanks very much for your support.